Here's a Crosley disc brake caliper torn down to just about every piece. I'll show you a little overview of the parts. I've never seen one of these, at least in the last 40 years, really taken apart in pictures. My goal is here not to make a exact assembly video, but just to show you how to put it together. This still needs a better cleaning and maybe to paint it to keep it from corroding. So this is the famous, or kind of infamous, aluminum caliper that were known to dissolve and corrode the road salt and everything, and crack. And here's the front of said caliper. So here, I'll set you up here and I'll attempt to put it together the best I can, show you how it all goes back. So, where to start? Here's that caliper. I'll start on the outside, the hardware part. Notice it's very strange. So this is not a self-adjusting caliper. Imagine the rotors right here. This is the back, this is the front, and it goes like this. Notice you have to rivet and unrivet these little brass rivets, and see right there, mine is down to it, so I have new parts. That won't be in this video. This is just an overview of it. Shiny piece there. Somebody painted it one time. Anyway, alright, here we go. So let's do the back part, the gears. Really weird as calipers go. Little rings go in these holes. They're just steel or cast iron. It's irrelevant. Okay. And we're going to make a whole bunch of gears now together. See, they're not the highest of quality. So this caliper came out, I believe, in late 49 or mid 49, and they only did it to about 50, mid 50. It wasn't even a year. They had horrible problems with them. See how that barely even... That's not even worn out. That's just how that's made. Anyway, put that there. See? Okay. And same thing here. It's just atrocious quality, isn't it? Okay, put that in. Then this doodle. They're not directional. It doesn't really matter. Get it in there. You can see where we're going with this. Now, there it is. Here is this. This is actually the adjuster bolt itself. So, and it's left-hand thread. Okay, yes. There's no other way to do it, unfortunately. See what I'm doing here. Notice up here there's a little hole, grease fitting. So when I got this caliper off, I got it off really, really easily actually. Nothing broke or was rusted solid, but these gears were just stuck beyond belief, like the adjustment. And that's because the grease inside turned to a stone. There you go. There you go. You get the idea, like that. Okay. And then this plate, just a steel plate, not even galvanized, goes all over top. So imagine there's a bunch of grease in here. Squirt, 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 squirt. Like this. That's basically it on the back. So when you turn this, see how they turn? So this caliper does not self-adjust. You have to constantly adjust it, which is another problem. It was fine on aircraft, what it was designed for. Here, here we go. Got stuck there. Oh, gear fell off. That doesn't happen when the cover's on. There you go. You normally wouldn't take that cover off. I'm just inspecting it because, you know, It was built in about 49. I'm just inspecting. But anyway, you see how that turns. Left-hand thread. And it pushes on this. So this is what you see when you take your wheel off, like this. The rotor right here. I'll show you a picture in just a moment. Make it all simple. Anyway, so there's that, okay? Now, while holding that together, they originally had something called a pulsator. It was a big, basically just a flat rubber disc in between two pieces of metal. This is one of the first disc brake systems to come out in mass market. There was a couple others, but this is, for all intents and purposes, what we consider the first, at least stateside. And so you got to think of, well, how did they come up with this? They're used to drums, and actually my car, 48, and back had mechanical brakes, mechanical drum brakes with cables. It was known, it was cheap, and there you go. This is an economy car, remember? Anyway, so here's this little plate, which I thought, oh, got that out. It's just a cup. You notice inside this is rotten, but gives you the idea. So this goes here. This is just it's got a little hole through it. Get the hole just right, it's filthy. Anyway, it goes there. And a O-ring goes on the back. Just imagine that goes on the back. And then this hole. So this is not the actual surface where the brake fluid and the seal actually touches. This is just a housing, basically, to hold all this. That's it. Okay? Like that. Go over in the back. Just forget all those damn gears a second. They all fell off. Hang on a second. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Okay. No, it's fitless. Apologize. There you go. So brake fluid comes through here. And here's the little pipe. But you put a nut on said little pipe. Like this. There you go, like that. You get the idea. Okay. And now then, I don't have it here to show you, but a brake hose comes into here and screws in. Okay. You're probably already yelling at this like, well, there's something missing here, but hang on. So, now then, how do we get the brakes to move out? Here's this. This is the upgrade. So when these brakes came out, like I said, they had a pulsator. It was a little more than 2 flat discs with a rubber bit in the middle. Like it looked like a solid rubber bit. I don't know. I've never seen one. But then they quickly learned it was a horrible idea. And so they changed it to this disc. So every Crosley with disc brakes, before they were discontinued, was sent back for a recall. Or a service bulletin. I don't know if you paid. And we're given this instead. So this goes on it. With an O-ring, wrapped around it. Not a square cut. Just an O-ring. And it goes in like this. You get the idea here. I'm butchering it. Oh, what would Pal Crosley say? Okay. See? Like that. And in a perfect world, when you're not filming it, and no one can see it, notice how that's dished for that? There it is. There it is. Ah. Okay. There you saw that. It pops in like that, okay? So brake fluid comes in. Okay, so in theory there shouldn't be any brake fluid out here. That this should be dry. But again, where is the brake pad? Well, here he comes. This is it. This is look like a cast iron block with a itty bitty little brake shoe, plug, whatever you want to call it, riveted to it, and it sits like that. Ta-da! Crosley brakes. Isn't that wild? So, you can see this is wet from, I had all this soaking in diesel for a couple of days to loosen everything up. So in theory, this stays dry. This is the outside to the air to weather the elements. That's it. That is the rear, the inward part of the caliper. Now, oh, it gets neater than that. So you don't want this coming out, because what happens if your brakes are unadjusted? Remember, these are not self-adjusting. We'll get there in a second. What happens if this pops out? You lose everything. It's only got that little bit of a lip in there to ride. So there's these. Sorry. And this will sit back here. Oh, wrong one. Like that, like so, on each side. With a few little teeny tiny Phillips, and hold it in. They consider them springs. And there you go. So maybe it'll push against that a little bit, and you'll feel it on the pedal. Don't know. It is kind of a spring steel. It's not just a regular, I don't think it's just regular bracket. Maybe it is. Okay, so you got that. So you got this all assembled. You're thinking, hey, I got this figured out. All right, what do you do now? So here's a bracket. This is quite a contraption, isn't it? It looks just like a bent piece of steel with 4 little Phillips head screws, machine screws. Here's this, okay? Over the back. Remember, this is all together already. If you were just changing the brake shoes, you would just pop out that little hockey puck. Take it all out with you to your press or whatever you're working on. This would all stay. Here's this. Okay, there you go. Now, let's imagine here's our rotor. Please, we'll get crap about that. Okay, so this goes over like that, all right? Something like that. Okay, so get that out of the way. Too thick. See, something like that. And then where's your bolts? Right here. Your bolts go in to those little things on the back, those hollow plugs that you saw had gears in them. Okay, so let me see what's going on here. So these, 1, 2, where my finger is here, these little brackets slide over a clamp. It's kind of a caliper bracket. I can't show you, it's too dark out there. On the car itself, so that stays on. So the only thing this is attached to through the car, basically, is a wee little sheet metal bracket that sits on the car that this is attaches to. These just kind of go through it. Anyway, so you screw these on. We'll come to the adjustment here. Kind of a neat thing, isn't it? Don't mind this. Those were those little springs I showed you. Use your imagination. They just sit right here. Okay, there you go. So it's on. Well, how do you go about adjusting this thing? How do you go about adjusting this thing? Okay, so according to the book, there is, where did that washer go? I didn't put back on apparently. There is a washer that goes right here, okay? The lock washer. This is left-hand thread. I hope I didn't lose it. I'm sure it's replaceable. No, never mind. There's one. I have a new kit. Okay, so there's a lock washer right here. You unloosen the lock washer, remember, righty, loosey, lefty, tighty. As you're facing the caliper, turn it this way. And once it gets snug, back it off, I believe, a quarter of a turn. Okay, then you lock this back. Fine. Okay, so how do you tighten the front, though? That looks really weird. I mean, it couldn't be solid. So, the book recommends, if you want to take this off or change your pads or whatever, you just, once you take it off, do all your brake work, put this back on hand tight. It's a little more than that. That's probably even too much there. Hand tight. And then the rickiest, this may not be original, with brackets. One of mine are missing. I'll have to make them. This is just a lock bolt bracket. All this does, it's only gold. It does say in the book to back it off to the nearest flat, or however you can get this on. Close it without going over, I suppose. Like that, something like that. There you go. So these will, there you go, like that. So these are just loose, essentially. Just snugged up by hand, that's it. And then this goes on. And you have a Crosley brake caliper. You see there's not much there. Here is that Crosley rotor. See, it's all one piece. Still has the Bauer branded bearings in there. Those bearings are perfect. Has a felt wheel seal on the back. I have a more modern one coming. The tracks dirt so bad. Anyway, that's it. I mean, it's just a rotor, but it's all cast in one piece. I can only imagine how hard this is to get. This is in really good shape. This car had sat under a barn since the late 70s. Put up in storage, and everything was coated in grease. I've cleaned it off, but that doesn't look bad at all. Then you look over the back. This car hasn't been on the road since at least the late 70s. I'd say definitely. Anyway, look at that. It's like it was just, looked like it just came off being used a couple hours ago, doesn't it? It's amazing. Anyway, that slips up into here. This slips up into here. If I can do it up, it's too adjusted. Can't even get it in there. But like that. So, what's something I missed? Or something you could say they missed or didn't know about or think about? How do you bleed the brakes? How do you bleed the brakes on this? It's not this. That's just a grease fitting. And let's go all around it. Get that out of the way. You get the idea what that does. And remember, these little things go right here. They stay on there unless you're doing brake work. Those are like tiny little keepers. Keep it in so you don't explode your brakes and die. I don't know. As this go around, okay? There's a drain hole. Maybe moisture get in. Okay. I don't see any bleeder, do you? Let's go around the back. There's this. That's that pipe, remember? Brake hose screws on there. Anybody know how you bleed it? Oh, wait. All right, long enough. Brake hose is in here, and the brake hose is how you bleed it. The brake hose actually seats against this with a washer. And just right up before the flat part of the hose, where it actually turns against it and seals, there's a little hole drilled. Like a little, I don't know, 16th, 8th inch hole. I guess 8th inch hole, I don't know exactly. It's not big at all. And just a couple threads before the nut of the brake hose. And you back it out like a half a turn, and brake fluid squirts everywhere, and you tighten it up. That's it. Kind of archaic, isn't it? But it worked. In design, it's a good idea. I mean, four-wheel disc brakes in 4950, that's crazy. He was really ahead of his time, just like with the little, here, get me over here. Just like with the Cobra engine here. Here's one. Crosley. Here's that infamous Cobra cylinder block. It's over there. I know it's junk. Everything sitting in here is junk. No. There's that infamous Cobra block. And it's not rusted at all. The valve cover is, amazingly. There I go. See how it just stamps to you? Okay. I'm going to piece that together, put it back in my car. Got that in a massive Crosley parts haul. And here, somewhere is it? Here. Going down the rabbit hole here. Oh! There you go, going down the rabbit hole. Here's a Crosley Autolite distributor. This thing was seized up in a box like a brick. I took it all apart. The bushings were somehow disintegrated. I don't know how that happened. Or hurt. There you go. Not much to it. There's a condenser. No, I think the condenser goes outside. I can't remember. Good old Autolite. When they were good. Notice? Oil hole. And then you would also have a piece of felt up in here. Because I definitely would. And put a little bit of drip or two there if you're choosing. That's how you get the distributor out. You have to take off the old pan, get the distributor out. The distributor has to come out before the crank. But I digress. So they had massive complaints about these brakes. That's how it goes. It's a very poor picture. That shows you what I was saying about those adjustments. Here, I'll put it back to how to adjust it. Adjust the brakes. Jack up the car. Loosen lock nut G. Caution, lock nut has left-hand threads. Turn compensating screw H clockwise until wheel locks. Caution, do not force. Back off compensating screw H, quarter turn. Oh, you back it off, excuse me. Tighten lock nut G. Be careful that the compensating screw does not turn. Okay? Repeat operation each wheel, blah, blah, blah. And what it does not show you about... Oh, there it is, number 4 there. Run the bolts, those big bolts, C and D, and figure tight only. and back off to the nearest flat so the tie bolt lock may be installed. There you go. That's it. Pretty simple. Here, I'll go ahead and take this all apart. Again, I'll show you what I did. I think this one's somebody's rigging. That don't look right to me. But nonetheless. So there's where the rivet is. Got to drill that out. I guess I'll use brass rivets. They only stop at about 1,300 pounds. There's not much to it. It's an interesting design, which by today's brake calipers, it's just so archaic, but simple. Almost reminds me of something on like a go-kart or a golf cart. Just something kind of cheap and dinky. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just somebody had to come up with the first one, so I'm not knocking it, just saying. There's that. So. Come on. Come, Daddy. There it is. You park even before they got the pulsators removed. So if you don't have this, you either have to find one out of old calipers or get it made, which I have a lathe. It's not a big deal, but if you don't, you know, gonna have a bad time. Don't do that. Remember, nothing hard on these old calipers. The worst part's undoing the rivets. Here. Rawhide mallet. There you go. You can see this little pipe might be screwed up. That's how it was when I got it. See, it's kind of stripped. Could be an issue, I don't know. As long as it gets tight and seals. But so your braking surface is only in that thing. Imagine this is squeaky clean. Imagine this is squeaky clean. Anyway, there you go. Got mostly all new nuts and washers. Should I paint that? No, just coat it in grease. And then that. Oh, that's right. There you go. I did check this grease fitting. Grease does come out. So next is maybe I'll paint it. I'm not going to use a caliper paint. I don't think these are going to ever get that hot. You can't tell me this is going to get incredibly hot. No way. Maybe. I mean, I'm going to go with an epoxy paint. Like I'm going to use called Rust Bullet. It can be used on aluminum too if it's properly cleaned. You know, etched gently. I thought that would be nice. I could be wrong in that, but I just don't see this thing getting burning hot. Maybe it does. Get a little steel ball and something. Anyway, there you go. I hope you got something out of that, me rambling. Thanks for coming along. Here's Mr. Crosley sleeping. See, he was out of somewhere in 64. Around here. Oh no, where's my wheel? There's that bracket I was talking about. So those 4 screws just grip into that. Then the bolts go through those holes. That's it. Now that caliper does sit in here. That little brake pad goes in here and just kind of holds in there. So that way you don't snap that rivet off. Look at the tiny little springs. Oh, I love this little, love this little car. I greased it up real good there. There you go. Look at the dinky little tire rod. Dinky. Steering arm.